you all please rise for a moment of silence?
Actually, I have a prayer.
Oh, you have a prayer for us?
I do.
All right, we'll listen to Councilperson Kodak give us a prayer.
This prayer was said by President John F. Kennedy shortly before Thanksgiving in 1963. So we're going to do it shortly before Christmas. I thought it was pretty profound. Let us therefore proclaim our gratitude to the providence for manifold blessings. Let us be humbly thankful for inherited ideals, and let us resolve to share those blessings and those ideals with our fellow human beings throughout the world. On that day, let us gather in sanctuaries dedicated to worship and in homes blessed by family affection to express our gratitude for glorious gifts of God. And let us earnestly and humbly pray that we will continue to guide and sustain us in the great unfinished task of achieving peace, justice, understanding among all men and nations, and of the ending misery and the suffering wherever it exists.
Thank you, Councilperson Kodak. If you could turn and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. We will move into the roll call of councilpersons. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manal.
Present.
Kodak.
President.
Cassidy.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Mendoza. Here. Logsdon.
Here.
Lake.
Here.
All right, all are present. Before we go into the minutes of the previous meeting, I do need to mention an adjustment to the agenda. Just to clarify, the old business that we have on our agenda, the first 3 items are indeed a third reading. The following 4 items are a second reading this evening. They are not the third reading. And then the last 2 items on new business are also second readings, so they should be reflected as the last 2 pieces of old business. And I think that does us for,
No.
they're entirely new?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're new.
All right, so those are indeed all 3 things on new business are new business.
Yes.
So those are some adjustments. So I guess the only adjustments then are to change the last 4 ordinance on old business from a third reading to a second reading. Do we have to make a motion to change that, or we're good? Okay. And then we will move into the minutes of the previous meeting.
Mr. President, I would suggest that we amend the minutes of the previous meeting by striking the final resolution that was discussed during miscellaneous, since we have rewritten that and represented it again tonight.
Let me get there.
Second that.
All right, so it was,
It's being presented as new business tonight.
would we strike that though from the record, because we did discuss that?
It was discussed, so it should
So I
probably
would
should stay
rule
in
that
the
motion out of
minutes.
line at this point, because that is part
Okay,
of
so we
the,
leave it in? even
Yeah,
though-
yeah,
that is
it's not a
business being conducted.
resolution, it was just a motion, so
Okay.
it's, yeah.
Okay.
but we will reflect that we do have a ordinance or resolution on the docket tonight that reflects that concept. But I think we need to keep the wording in the minutes.
Then I move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Manel, second by Cassidy to approve the minutes. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manal.
Yes.
Kodak.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
All right, the motion to pass the minutes has been passed. Communications,
I have none.
excellent. Any finance committee report this evening?
No report. We will meet prior to the next meeting at 5:30.
Thank you. Public affairs committee,
No report, thank you.
law and ordinance committee?
No report. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Are either of your 2 committees meeting before the next meeting? Okay.
We are not.
Excellent.
No, I don't think ours are. No agenda.
Okay. We will move into the report of the officers. Mr. Mayor,
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Last Thursday night, we had a very successful Christmas tree lighting up front. It was very well attended. And really want to thank Tiffany Arndt, who helped to organize that, and Deanna Jobs Enchanted Bean and Lance at State Farm. They had tables set up outside, and many of the downtown businesses had Christmas displays in their windows that were unveiled that night. So it was a really good night downtown, and again, very well attended. And the tree was then lit by our 2023 Snow Queen, Bev Lang, and she was in the parade on Saturday, the Fostoria Rotary Christmas Parade, which was also very well attended, and the sip and shop, and a lot of other really cool things going on downtown. Santa is still at the depot, if you get a chance to stop over there, so looks really, really great. We recently had a meeting with Columbia Gas, and that was one of the things we were talking about as far as getting the next round of paving projects put together, is some assurance from Columbia Gas that we weren't gonna pave and then they tear it up. So we had a really good meeting, very productive with them, where they have sent us just recently information on where they have been and don't intend to go back to, and where they plan to be maybe over the next 4 or 5 years. So then we'll be meeting with our water and sewer people and hopefully have a paving project put together for the beginning of next year. We want to make sure we weren't going to pave and have it all tore up as soon as we pave it. So I think we've gotten that cleared up. And then the last thing I have are some board appointments. All of these are reappointments for miscellaneous business, Braden Hall. And these all run from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st of 2027. So you have Braden Hall and Tara Matz reappointed to the College Memorial Public Library Board. Carol Kinn reappointed to the Fostoria Tree and Beautification Committee. And Pamela Shoemaker reappointed to Fostoria Planning Commission. If you please, we'll vote on those in miscellaneous business. I would appreciate that. Barring any questions, that's all I have for this moment.
And just for clarification, Braden, who's an incoming council member, there's no conflict for him to serve on that board.
Check with him to make sure these are all been agreed to by the folks that have been brought forth tonight.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sir.
Anything else from the mayor?
Thanks.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Sure.
Christmas tree lighting and the festivities that night reminded me quite a bit of a child growing up in Fostoria. It just had the energy that I recall as a small child, and it hadn't been really that long ago. I was a kid, but I just wanted to say that it was a good feeling to see the turnout, and there was an energy in the air that was good. Something very positive and something very good about this town. I just wanted to express that.
Yeah, and the amount of people that stayed after and walked down to the downtown, looking at the displays and windows, all the way down to the North Street Styling Shop. And by the way, that was pretty impressive how many people stayed to enjoy those displays afterwards. It was a great night.
Yeah, the city did a good job, the crew did a good job with the lights. Liked it.
Thank you. Director of Public Safety and Services, and here this evening, Director of Law.
Thank you. Couple things. You guys are going to hear from Julie Richards, our Seneca County Health Director, I believe. And that's during public comment. And she's going to, I think, mention the Seneca County Health Board's resolution that they passed regarding Sunny Farms. So should you guys agree with that, then just during miscellaneous, we'll just ask for a motion from you guys that you support their resolution as well. Then at the appropriate time, I would ask for an executive session to discuss pending or imminent court action, as well as collective bargaining matters. You know, looking at the old and new business. I think, so in all of our old business, all of those can, well, all of the second readings, those can go to third readings. And then in our new business, the resolution authorizing our contracted director of finance to perform certain duties, blah, 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 blah. That one should probably be passed as an emergency, as well as the appropriations legislation, so the final two pieces in new business, both should be passed as an emergency tonight. And I think that is all, unless there's questions.
Do you anticipate business to follow the executive session?
Yes, I do.
Any questions for the law director? All right, moving into the finance director.
I've provided every member with reports from October. October is closed. The first report is a listing of all our bank accounts. And if you look to the far right, you'll see the balances in those bank accounts. A couple things to know. New this year was the Red Tree investments that we went to in, I believe, February or March. You'll see in the appropriations that we're revising an increase in the bank fees. That's to reflect the fees that we have to pay Red Tree. We have been paying them, we just didn't fully budget for them at the time. The way to read this report, this is a list of all of our accounts. On the far right is the ending balance as of October 31st. You'll see it's $20,380,000, and then the report behind it are all the funds that account for that $20 million. Of the $20 million, $10 million is in the general fund. The remaining $10 million all has a special purpose or is in custody for somebody else. So when you look at that, go all the way to the second report, go all the way to the back page, the very last page, page 6 of 6, and you'll see unexpended balance, which is the third column from the right, and it totals $20,380,000, which is the same as what's in our bank accounts. Of that $20 million, $2.7 million is still has been encumbered and is part of this year's budget yet. So of the $20 million, $17 million is actually what, quote, is available, but don't get excited and think that $17 million is available, because it's not. $10 million is in the general fund, that's unrestricted. And as you look at what we have going on for the next year in the recovery plan, we have over $5.5 million in capital investments in that plan. So understand when you see these numbers, they're large numbers, but they all have a meaning, they all have some accountability to them. So it's not like it's a free-for-all that we're just gonna go and spend $20 million. That's part of what the 5-year recovery plan is about, is how are we allocating dollars for the future instead of living paycheck to paycheck. I am not sure what council's used to seeing on a monthly basis, so I would welcome any input. At the finance committee level, we will provide much more detail. I just don't know how much detail you want at the council level, because you could quickly get bogged down, and I don't know if you've delegated that to the finance committee or not. I just want a little direction from you guys, so I'm, again, meeting expectations. So I would take any input that you have in terms of what you're looking for on a monthly basis.
Excellent, thank you. Any comments or questions for the finance director this evening?
Just hearing that October's is balanced
Yeah.
and completed is great news.
And this is a good summary. I mean, I think this is plenty of detail to this level right now. So, I like this. First impression, so, I like it.
Give me a call anytime.
Makes me happy.
Then I'm happy about it.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we will move into the public portion. Before we get started, we do have 3 different people who have requested time. I would like to say a few things before we start the public portion. The public portion of our meeting is one of those opportunities for the citizens to come to City Council and address City Council on really anything they think that we should be aware of or need to address. We all also have email accounts that we can be contacted through. I believe the city's website, Facebook or website page has our phone numbers that we can be contacted at any time. I, however, will say that Facebook is not an official form of business for the city council. It's probably not an appropriate form of business. I'm not trying to curtail anybody's First Amendment rights or trying to stymie free speech, but just so we know this is being recorded and will be out on social media, that those watching this video understand that please get a hold of us directly so we can help you. The comment section of any Facebook post is not an official conduit to communicate with us. But this public meeting is an excellent way to do that. And with that, we'll start with the first three people that have requested time tonight, and then we'll give anybody else that's here an opportunity to speak. With that, Julie Richards, Seneca County Health Department.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me come on such a short notice. I am Julie Richards, the current Health Commissioner of Seneca County. I've just finished my 3rd month, so it's a pleasure to be here and to request the support of City Council. I believe you've all received a copy of the resolution that was passed unanimously by the Seneca County Board of Health on November 16th. But I'll read that for the purpose of public as well. That motion or that resolution states, I move that the Seneca County Health Board approve the funding and commencement of effort of an environmental impact study related to the proposed expansion of the landfill operated by Wind Waste Innovations of Seneca County, and authorize the Health Commissioner to publicly open and promote the bidding process for such study, effective immediately. The bids for such study shall be considered during a public meeting in the first quarter of calendar year 2024. The Health Commissioner shall notify Ohio Environmental Protection Agency of the Seneca County Board of Health's approval of the funding and scope of work and associated timeline of an environmental impact study, and the expectation that the results of the environmental impact study should be received and thoroughly assessed prior to a decision about any expansion of the landfill operated by Wind Waste Innovations of Seneca County. What we are asking for tonight is a similar resolution by the Fostoria City Council supporting that same message, that we want to have a comprehensive environmental impact study completed, to have the results thoroughly assessed and received prior to any decision and approval process of the expansion that Wind Waste is requesting. If anybody needs a little bit more information about the impact study, I do have that with me. If anybody has any questions. Yes, sir.
I do. I was just gonna ask if we had an idea about the cost overall, and the second question would be funding. Where's the money coming from?
Right, so interestingly, good question. If we lived in any of the states, here I have a list of the surrounding states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, or West Virginia, the entity who is requesting the expansion would be responsible for payment of that environmental impact study. Ohio is the only state in our geographic area that does not require that. So I guess basically, I mean, what I'm saying is that that environmental impact study is a normal procedure and usually funded by the entity who is requesting that expansion. We are just the one state that doesn't have that as a rule, so therefore we are soliciting financial support as well to help fund and help show support so that we can stand as a unified community to say how important this is to us. And as far as how much it will cost, we've been under the impression with research $500,000 to $1 million. 500,000 is by far the smallest version, up to $1 million, but we won't know that for sure until bidding occurs and we get formal proposals.
Okay. Thank
Would
you.
you clarify something?
Sure.
Surrounding states, it would be, let's say Sunny Farms was in Michigan.
Yes.
I wouldn't wish that on, but on Michigan. If that was the case in Michigan or Pennsylvania, way surrounding states, Sunny Farms would be footing the bill for it, is that correct?
Correct.
In Ohio's case, we have some legal history on this to where it's our responsibility, meaning this area, to foot the bill for it? Is this black and white that this is the way it has to be? We have to carry the burden?
It's not specified as to who's responsible. We don't have to have an environmental impact study. But as a entity of the health district, we feel really strongly that that environmental impact study provides us with all of the information necessary to make an informed decision about the expansion. So therefore, we are responsible for the cost.
Will this be the first environmental impact study done of this landfill?
That's my understanding. I'm not 100%. I don't know of any other that has been completed.
Can you go a little more in depth as far as what you intend to study?
Sure.
I'm just, some of it's a little confusing, but
Absolutely.
we're talking about water runoff, for instance, quality of water in the surrounding area and wells.
Yeah, so there are 4 or 5 main categories that a comprehensive environmental impact study covers. And what we're hoping to achieve is to gain a better understanding of the environmental impact. So that would assess the potential environmental impacts of the landfill expansion. It should include assessing the impact on air quality, water quality, soil quality, and wildlife. The second is the social impact assessment, and this study would assess the potential social impacts of the landfill expansion, including impact on local communities, cultural heritage sites, and public health. The economic impact assessment, which would include assessing the impact on property values, employment opportunities, and local businesses. And a stakeholder engagement plan, which outlines how stakeholders will be engaged throughout the entire environmental impact study process.
And it'll cover just exactly what's going on now. We'll take consideration things that have taken place 2 years, 5 years, 10 years ago. I mean, where there will be some type of historical information provided as well on this.
I'm sure that that information will be gathered. I'm sure they're going to gather as much information as possible, and then they'll project a little bit into what the outcome, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and that impact as we continue on as a community once they reach, if they were to expand and reach capacity, how does that affect us moving forward?
It's my understanding that they were absolved from previous actions and ownerships during the consent agreement. So everything moving on is just what we're talking about, future stuff right now, unless the lawyers have come up with something else.
Right,
So,
unless the impact studying.
reveals something more.
Exactly.
Okay.
How long do you anticipate it would take to complete?
They anticipate 9 months to 1.5 years.
So we're purporting to spend a sizable amount of money for a study. Sunny Farms has not really complied for 2023, is that correct? With the things that they're supposed to comply with?
Due to current litigation, I'm going to refrain from answering those kind of questions.
Do they have a license?
They do have a license.
To operate? Okay. I didn't know that.
They have a license.
Yes.
They haven't totally complied, but they've got a license.
She can't answer.
Yeah, I can't really go into all of that right now.
Lawyers.
According to their recent press release, they say that they are now in compliance. Is that correct?
That's what they say, yes.
That's what they said.
I'm not trying to be wise, I'm just
I
trying.
understand. Yeah, and I'm not trying to avoid questions.
No,
just-
I understand what
Thank
you're
you.
saying.
I do have a list for anybody here of the Seneca County landfill facts and concerns, the top 10 issues for 2023. It talks about things of how many rail cars they want to unload, how many tons they want to increase by if they get an expansion. It talks about Senate Bill 119 and how that would have an effect. There's 10 points on here, so make sure anybody that wants them gets them and takes with them. These were put together, and it's just kind of a footnote to what has went on and what's going on. It passes no judgment on anything. It's factual.
Any other questions for Commissioner Richards?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The second person on our public portion of the agenda is Deb Tyson.
Hello and thank you. I'm Deb Tyson. I'm on Woodward Avenue, Lot 9. I have been talking to the EPA, both Seneca and Hancock Health Department, and I have from the Hancock saying that more recently they were even invited to a meeting in Arcadia, which is Monday, at 108 Gibson Street, Arcadia. It's at the firehouse. Because I guess that the landfill is purchasing a lot of land in Hancock County. Don't know how much, but they said we would find out, and they said that both Washington Township residents need to be aware, and Red Hawk Run residents. So I'm not quite sure who all that encompasses, but the other thing was I talked to the EPA today, and where's that at? It's always easier just to quote people than to say what my version is. Okay, so the EPA said that Wind Waste does not have any permit applications on these properties in Hancock County at this time. So they've only done the ones that we know about here in Seneca County. But they have been looking at the well that they put on a private water system, and they tapped it into a piece of equipment at Sunny Farms. So they're looking into that right now. And then also they have recently installed gas wells in the south unit of Sunny Farm that's in Seneca County, and they're using the company's adjacent property in Hancock to stage and store well apparatus and drilling equipment during the installation. And this is straight from the Public Involvement Coordinator of the EPA. And not to confuse the issue, but I do feel strongly, haven't been able to address law and order, and I'm still on the parking of one-way streets. And now I have a new one. Where there's yellow uptown on the curbs, I wondered if some of that could be made for a handicapped car here or there. Because we have a lot of handicapped people, and we need to promote them coming to the local businesses. So I don't know if anybody has any questions for me. I have quite a bit to share. I would like a copy of what you have, most definitely, because I was told by this coordinator to take whatever I get from this meeting, and we are going to have a one-on-one, but they're waiting until I go to the Arcadia meeting as well. Any questions? Oh, and one other thing. in late January or the beginning of February, EPA will be coming here to address some of the concerns, and it is the hopes that both the ground, the surface, and the air will all be addressed at that meeting, instead of just one thing. And I had worked on that because they were only bringing one division in.
What time did you say the meeting was, Monday?
7.
7?
Yeah, but I would be there a few minutes early because I'm understanding that when you turn it down like a residential street, so it's not like in view. And we know it gets darker earlier now.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final person that requested time to speak is Fire Chief Mr. Root.
Hello, everybody. Jason Root, Chief of the Fire Division. I just want to talk tonight about Jackson Township's EMS contract that we will no longer serve. So they have gone a different route from this point, so I just want to make sure that you guys are fully aware of it. We've been working with them since August, I believe. We kind of proposed it because we technically didn't even have a contract for last year. We just kind of were rolling with what we currently had. Just the feasibility of it is tough for us. Not that we didn't want to do it, we did propose, some changes for them and stuff like that. Part of that was just some increases to help pick up expenses. I mean, it was just that simple. For us, having a 4-man minimum, it's hard for us to just leave and have 2 people here. The minimum standard that we have right now is the 4 for the city. That's what we feel is we can adequately cover the city with most of the time and everything else. Now, when we send 2 out into the townships and stuff like that, we have to recall. So in order to recall, we got to pay people. So then there's all those added expenses that go with it. So we had tried to work things out and go that route. I know that they're kind of forming themselves. We're going to have probably some work to do with them in the first place just because of the fact that it's a pretty big area. But the biggest impact is going to be is our checkerboarded northern end, where we're going to have houses that are in, 2 that are out, 1 that are in, and stuff like that. So it's going to be, yeah. I mean, it could be like the end of Stoner Road. There's a few of those houses that are just right there and they're out. So my understanding right now is that EMS service will come out of Bettsville. So they'll have to wait for Bettsville to come to that for that right there. So I just want everybody to be fully aware of it. They did put out a press release, I believe, online and everything else too, that kind of, put some numbers out there, some different things, but, I will email you guys. Now that I actually was starting it and everything else, I kind of had a few other hiccups today as far as some things we need to handle around town, but I'll give you some of the basic information, especially like our run volumes and stuff like that. I mean, we're on average anywhere from 36 to 57 out into the Jackson Township portions that we cover. And we don't cover all of Jackson Township, we just cover the major portions that kind of tie in with the city and stuff like that.
So if you take 2 firemen out there and you bring 2 in,
Yeah.
that overtime, who pays that?
So we bill them as we recall.
Okay.
$200 per person per recall. Now, we still were sort of contracted with them that we weren't just gonna, you had to give them like a 60-day notice, if you wanted to do it and everything else. So obviously we were trying to be the good neighbor. If we get the call, we try to recall, we don't get anybody, we don't bill them for it. And then the city sits short, for that period of time. That could take, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, it just depends on the call and everything else too. We literally go out to County Road 1. It's a stretch, for us to cover that stuff. And then at the same flip side too, as soon as you go on the other side of County Line Street, we got Perry Township that we're trying to deal with as well too. Because they're doing some reorganization and stuff like that too. So we've kind of talked to them about how we can maybe split it up for them and share it and stuff like that too. And then, talk about the cost effectiveness of it. We just don't want our citizens to pay, the bill for the whole entire thing. And it was just a kind of a fair, communications on what it should be at. I mean, I've really come to learn, having 11 months or so on the job as the chief, and how expensive it is to run, a lot of this stuff. I mean, when you got monitors that are $40,000 and, and you gotta remember that too, that's an ALS service, immediately. So
I think that's the biggest point too, is that
yeah.
we provide advanced life support as compared to what they'd receive otherwise.
So Chief Root, once this takes effect, what happens if you have a call out there? If you have to make the call out there, do you bill them your full cost? Or do you have no agreement, or
Right, my understanding would be is that.
what if they're heading the other direction in Seneca County?
Right, right. I mean, so there's a statewide mutual aid contract that we all, agree upon.
Okay, so that does exist.
That does exist. So the biggest thing there is we will recall, and then that's just something that the city has to, agree upon, that we do that. It's no different if City of Tiffin needs us or we need the City of Tiffin.
Okay.
Usually we need the City of Tiffin more than they need
Okay.
us, and stuff like that. So.
Not lately.
Huh?
Not lately.
Not lately, but it usually the numbers kind of switch that way because, I mean, our biggest downside is, again, it's the 4 people. We don't have an abundance. Tiffin Fire contracts out a couple different townships over there. They do run a lot of run volume in those, and they just bill them a flat fee up front and everything else, but they have a 9-man minimum. So they can equip 3, ALS units and still maintain the city's coverage and stuff like that, and then take care of the townships. Here it's just, give me 2 more guys per shift and we'll take care of it. Get some money.
One other component to this whole picture is the fact that we're in financial emergency too.
Yeah.
So we're short-staffed, and we're not in a position to spend money we don't have to go to other communities. Not that I'm not sensitive to the needs of the people surrounding us, but
Right.
Number one is still here, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part is just keeping that priority in place.
Yeah.
We know the citizens here, the taxpayers here are gonna get that first service. We have to make sure that we're giving them the best we can. Now, once we get into all kinds of other realms of, fire auto aids and mutual aids and stuff like that, that's some other things that we reach out to and those as well too. But the EMS side of it all is just, even if we do an ALS, intercept of some sort, they still may transport, our medic goes with them, we pay for, that portion or them recalls, they still bill. It's an evil business kind of, it's just really weird because we still gotta charge people for, and on top of it, and it's, unfortunately, it's just how it is. There's just not a great avenue for this, and we're not alone. It's everywhere. You go to any city, municipality, they're doing the same thing. Bucyrus has like 8 townships they cover, but they subsidize them to reach out. And that was something we approached them with, is the fact that, well, can we help you on more of it? Let's talk about the subsidies of that versus completely going away from it. So we're open to, suggestions. I just want to make sure that that's clear as well too, and to keep you guys informed, because if it takes 3 times as long potentially, or whatever occurs, we don't, and citizens are just right there, and I hate for that to occur. Hopefully, we're gonna work well with them, and we can help provide them services. Once the next house out, we wanna make sure that we're doing the right thing for humankind.
Here's a scenario, if somebody's having a heart attack right now out on North Union, on a portion of, what's response time, if you're called, in response time from Bettsville? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, I'm not
Thanks for that.
trying to use a stopwatch on it, but just generally speaking, the first call is gonna be in Perry Township, right?
That's not fair.
Jackson.
Or Jackson.
Yeah.
Jackson.
Yeah, well, to go to the sheriff's department essentially and stuff like that, but, yeah, whatever, volunteer fire departments out there.
Right.
So they're, so if it's Kansas Volunteer Fire Department, they'll respond with their first responders and stuff like that too. And they've got some EMTs and everything else, so they can start initial care, and then essentially, coming out of Bettsville will be that transport unit. Now I don't know if it's gonna be BLS, ALS. I don't know if they're on station all the time, if they're responding in. For us, we can reach pretty much everywhere on our borders, when we leave the station in about 4 minutes, believe it or not. Now dispatching, information gathering, transferring, stuff like that, there's, a minute to 3 sometimes, depends on this scenario. You gotta remember that. I feel bad for the dispatchers, because they've gotta gather a lot of information from somebody that's usually not having a great day, and then get that information organized and send it out to us. So there's always that that little lapse there. But now, as far as the response time from way over there, I guess you guys can kind of map it and figure it out. It's obviously going to be more than what it is for us.
At least,
Yeah. So,
About 15.
yeah,
yeah, so.
that's if they're on station.
They're there full-time.
Oh, they're on state, okay.
Yeah, I believe that's our goal, is they're strategically starting to place more, you know, stuff like that, but it's gonna be a work in progress. It's gonna be several years, and they admitted to that at the same time too. I just wish we could have maybe come to some type of agreement, you know, to make it feasible for both sides, but again, I'm not gonna short us, you know, and have our citizens paying for those services. That's not the way to do business. Unfortunately, it is a business to a certain degree. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. We will move into the non-pre-registered public portion of the meeting. At this time, if you wish to address council, please come up, make sure you write your name and address, and please try to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Paul Allison, 118.5 West Center Street, Apartment 2. It's not that far away. The Records Commission meeting is scheduled for February the 15th, Thursday at 2 p.m. Since I have 2 different members, or I will have 2 different members, the new mayor will be taking Eric's place, and the new finance director is also a member of the Records Commission, and of course also the law director. The Records Commission here, in case you're not familiar with it, consists of 4 people: the mayor, the law director, the auditor, finance director, and 1 citizen member, which happens to be me. Now, as far as I'm aware of, everybody has a Records Commission. The library, the counties, the school districts, but the only Records Commission that consists of at least 1 citizen member is the municipalities. Why they did it that way, I have no idea, but that means that usually speaking, the citizen member gets to do most of the work and knows that when you take the job. So anyway, if there aren't any questions, I give everybody a heads up. You'll get a formal notice in the minutes of the last meeting that was held last August later. But I give everybody a heads up here because it's not that far away. And maybe the mayor's office can get rid of some records that are in the records room because I think we could get rid of a lot of them according to the schedules if we did an inventory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Anyone else wish to address council? Seeing none, we will move into old business. And I believe before we start the old business, the first 3 ordinances need their language adopted. Is it all 3 of the first? Or just the first one?
Thank you. Yeah, just the first one, if I could have a motion to amend as reflected in the most recent one that I sent out for this meeting.
So we need a motion
A motion?
to accept the current language.
Motion
as-
to amend to accept the current language.
Right, we have a motion by Manel.
Okay.
Second.
Second, any discussion on that? Any clarification?
I guess I would like one note, if you look at that ordinance, so I struck through the changes and then, the new language is in red. The 4% that is followed by the red 7%, the 4 doesn't look like it's struck through,
But
it is, but
is.
because the 4, so you can't
Yeah.
tell, but the 4 is struck through.
Okay.
Any other clarification or questions? Or- We do have a motion on the table. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes,
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
So we will be using the current language of that resolution, or ordinance, excuse me. And clerk, would you read that ordinance?
An ordinance establishing positions, salaries, and pay rates for the Safety Service Director, Police Chief, Fire Chief for the City of Fostoria, Ohio, repealing ordinance number 2021-62, and declaring an emergency to exist.
third reading?
This
That's
is
the third.
Move to adopt.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt this ordinance by Manel, a second by Cassidy. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
All right, that is ordinance number 2023-59. And just to clarify before we move on, the next two had no revisions or changes since the last meeting.
Correct.
Okay, Clerk, would you read the second one, please?
Yes, I will. An ordinance establishing positions, salaries, and pay rates for foreman and supervisor personnel for the city of Fostoria, Ohio, repealing ordinance number 2021-62 and declaring an emergency to exist.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt by Manel, a second by Hodak. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
Ordinance carries. It's ordinance number 2023-60. When you're ready, would you read the next one?
An ordinance establishing positions, salaries, and pay rates for all non-elected, non-union personnel for the city of Fostoria, Ohio, repealing ordinance number 2021-62 and declaring an emergency to exist.
Move to adopt.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Lake, a second by Logsdon to adopt this ordinance. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
That will be ordinance number 2023-61. And just again, for the record, the next four ordinances are a second reading tonight, so they're second readings.
An ordinance to amend section 3 of ordinance 2022-43 and declaring an emergency to exist.
That was the second reading of that one.
An ordinance to amend various sections of chapter 183 of the codified ordinances of the city of Fostoria, Ohio regarding municipal income tax and declaring an emergency to exist.
That was the second reading of that one.
An ordinance establishing the fiscal year 2024 permanent appropriations and declaring an emergency to exist.
The second reading of that one as well.
An ordinance adopting an amendment to the financial recovery plan for the city of Fostoria, Ohio and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the second reading of that one. We will move into new business.
An ordinance to amend ordinance 2011-65 concerning compensation for the appointed director of law and declaring an emergency to exist.
That is the first reading of that ordinance.
A resolution authorizing a contracted director of finance to perform certain duties and functions as required to perform the essential duties of the position of director of finance as outlined in the approved job description and declaring an emergency to exist.
Motion to suspend the three reading rule on three separate occasions.
Second.
We have a motion by Cassidy to suspend the three reading rule on three separate occasions. A second by Mendoza. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
The three reading rule has been waived.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Mendoza and a second by Logsdon to adopt. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
That becomes resolution number 2023-62.
An ordinance adopting and amending ordinance number 2022-75, permanent 2023 appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated funds in the general fund, fire donation fund, park and recreation fund, city cleanup fund, and sewer fund, and transferring funds from the general fund to the park and recreation fund and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend the three reading rule on three separate occasions.
Second.
We have a motion by Cassidy and a second by Mendoza to suspend the 3 reading rule on 3 separate occasions.
I have a
Clerk, call the
question.
roll, please.
Oh.
We can do discussion.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Cogsden,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
And any discussion?
Okay, yeah, I had a question concerning the transfer of funds. I mean, a lot of it was for electric, and it appears that, is that utilities that were unbudgeted, or?
So our utilities have gone over what we had budgeted for them, yes, so, sections 2, 4, 6, 10, and 11, total $38,000. That's to get us through the end of the year on our electric bills. You'll
Okay.
see some additional appropriations coming in the next council meeting for other areas where we set the budget, but we have gone over, for unexpected reasons. Some of the other things on this particular appropriations, there's a $29,000 appropriation in the water sewer fund. That's for a secondary pump that went out. Our backup pump, used our backup pump, so now we need to get another backup in place. We received a $15,000 donation, if you remember last council meeting, for the cemetery. We are now appropriating those dollars to be used on the gate at the cemetery. So that is what makes up these changes. And it is an emergency because we do want to get our electric bills paid.
Oh,
We're not able to pay them if we don't have the dollars appropriated.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Logs and a second by Podak to adopt this legislation. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Cogsden.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
That does pass ordinance number 2023-63. Would someone like to make a motion to go into executive session?
Can we do miscellaneous first, or?
There is business to follow.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could do miscellaneous first, but we do have business to follow, so.
You have preference?
Like you said, we have business file, so we'll have to have a miscellaneous after the executive session.
We do have to have miscellaneous afterwards, but likely, okay.
Motion to go into executive session?
Second.
For, can you specify the reasons, please?
Oh, yes, for pending imminent court action in collective bargaining matters.
Okay, so we do have a motion to go into executive session for pending an imminent court action and collective bargaining matters with business to follow. That motion was called for by Manel and seconded by Logsden. Clerk, please call the roll, please.
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Cogsden.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
I have 6:59. We are going into executive session.
No, somebody that knew. Who's the last one of those? I'll get you one. You know it all anyway.
Yeah, okay.
You lived through it.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Manel, a second by Cassidy to come out of executive session. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Dodson,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
We are out of executive session at 7:21. We will move into miscellaneous business.
Motion to approve the contract with 811.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the contract with 811 by Manel, second by Logsdon. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Dodson,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
So approved.
Motion to reappoint Brayton Hall and Tara Mance to the Cobbish Memorial Public Library Board for a period from January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2027. To reappoint Carol Kin to the Fostoria Tree and Beautification Committee for the same time period, and to appoint Pamela Shoemaker to the Fostoria Planning Commission for the same time period.
A second.
We have a motion by Manel and a second by Kodak for the appointments of Braden Hall and Tara Matz to the Library Board, Carol Kin to the Tree and Beautification Committee, Pam Shoemaker to the Planning Commission, all for terms starting January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2027. Would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Dodson,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
That motion carries. Those people are so appointed.
I'd like to make a motion that the law director prepare a motion or a resolution to support the Seneca County Board of Health, the improved funding.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Logsdon, a second by Lake to write a resolution to vote for support of the Seneca County Health Board's resolution. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Hodak,
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Dodson,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
That motion too does carry. Any other miscellaneous business from anybody down there? I just want to remind people that we will have a Ward 3 position open at the first of the year. We have 2 more meetings before our first of the year meeting, or 1 more meeting after the, 1 more. This is the second to last time that you'll hear about this, but if you are interested and out in the public for this, you may drop off your interest and resume to the mayor's office before January 2nd, or come prepared on January 2nd to the council meeting, because our hopes would be to entertain those candidates and maybe make that decision to not have that seat vacant for very long. So, and if there's no other miscellaneous, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Cassidy with a motion to adjourn, Lake with a second. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Manel, Hodak,
Yes.
Yes.
Cassidy,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Dodson,
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
We are adjourned at 7:25.